There's a red thing up here, what, right? Oh, it's the fucking, see the red thing?
What the?
It's something above you too.
What the?
Oh, it's on the camera. Oh, it's because we're recording. Never mind.
Oh. There's also a picture of a battery on the wall here. Get rid of it. The red dot, folks, is the recording symbol. Perhaps you're familiar with it. If you've ever used a recording device of any kind.
I feel like that idiot. All right, anyway. All right, want to do that? You want to say the disclaimer? You got it?
Sure. The ideas and content in this podcast are our own and do not reflect the views or opinions of any current or previous employers.
Awesome.
Dude,
Awesome.
I got it down.
That's the best. That's the best ever.
What the worst thing that could happen is that you write it down and then I try and bring it back. It's never a good plan, right?
It's never a good plan, man.
No.
I don't know why I always try to do it from memory and I always mess it up. Anyway, all right. Good week so far?
Good week, you know. It is a great week, actually. I feel like we've accomplished a lot of goals in my personal, scenario. I feel like, as stressful as the last few months have been, I feel like we've, end of the month here, man. It's
Dude.
Halloween.
Dude, not
Halloween's
only
a special time for me.
Dude, not only why is Halloween a special time for you?
Well, my birthday was on Monday.
Dude, I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, you're not really my friend. I just pretend like you are because you need me for this podcast.
Happy birthday, man.
Thank you.
Here, I got you
39.
I got you a time bar.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
yeah.
really nice. I appreciate
It's a mini because I don't like it that much.
And I had also been meaning to talk to you about your weight.
Dude, I know it was your birthday.
Yeah.
I never felt terrible.
My wife's birthday was Friday, and it's funny because
Oh, wait, how old is she?
she's 3 days older than me.
Oh,
Literally,
older lady.
Yeah, well, I always remind her of that for 3 days every year.
Wow.
We've been married for 17 years? 17 years.
Good for you, man. That's awesome.
So,
I didn't know
and
that.
of course, if that's not right, I'd like to send out a formal apology.
Dude,
She's not listening to the podcast.
There's like 2 people listening. Don't worry about it.
It's all good.
Good for you. What'd you do for your birthday? Any good?
We went out. We went out to.
just
Actually,
checking
you know what?
your-
We
you
were.
checking your- you
I was
checking
actually
your
pulling up your.
People
your
are recording this.
outline.
People can see you doing that.
Well, I thought about that
all right.
because we are recording this today, and it's for our YouTube channel, and this is what it's actually like. We sit here, and if I don't have my iPad, which I forgot, I just read it on my phone.
You forgot your iPad?
Did you think that this was like? Do you think that people feel like? Because I feel like we talk about what bootleg operation we're running here, right?
And we're
That's not
proving
a
it.
secret.
No, we're
right?
proving it.
I mean, that's what this is, right?
Dude, it's so hot in here.
It is 100 million degrees in this library, and it is full of witches on Halloween.
I love it.
Everybody that works here is dressed as a witch.
I know. It's like, dude, they should have been like an original.
Well, they do a lot of shushing. It kind of makes sense.
All
It's a
right.
library.
So, dude, we're coming up on the end of our, you were talking about the end of the month. We're coming up on 1 year anniversary.
That's right.
You know what I'm thinking we should do?
What's that?
Live event.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Yes,
Maybe.
a live event is a great idea.
We'll see. We'll figure something out. We'll figure it out. All right, let's talk about TrueWorks because they're freaking badass. I'm head to toe. Well, you can't say I'm not going to say that, but I'm actually head to toe in TrueWorks.
Nice.
Yeah. So
We've said it before. We've been pleasantly surprised with the
I'm
gear.
telling you, no, this stuff's great. I was actually in a foundation earlier today filled with water and mud, which sucked because it's been raining. Climbed out, had mud all over the pants, just brushed them off. Good to go. Went to a meeting.
Totally waterproof.
Nobody knew I was wandering around in the mud. Dude, it's fantastic. So, anyway, TrueWorks, great products. Definitely check them out. If you guys are interested, you can go to their website, CMP 18% off your first order. We've got a lot of reviews from people that have bought this stuff. It's fantastic.
Excellent.
Builder Tactics, we gotta talk about that because that's our website. It's
Sure.
fantastic. I gotta send you another resume because we've actually gotten a couple of them.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
So there's still time. If you haven't gotten on Builder Tactics and downloaded the manual, do that. We'll review the resume for the first 25 people. Spaces are getting limited because people are doing it. So if you want to do that, do that. You'll support the show 100%, and you get
That's
some
what
more.
we need,
It's a
so
lot
we
out
can
of
keep
it.
putting it out.
Yeah. So all right, today we're gonna talk about. What the hell are we talking about?
I mean, we're talking about dealing with
That's right.
dealing with you know, you said it's like dealing with difficult people, but
Yeah.
I think that that's a relative thing. Like dealing with difficult people just means having difficult conversations. Sometimes somebody is great and you have a regular relationship with them, and maybe this time that you're dealing with them is difficult, or maybe they're just plain a difficult person all the time.
There's all kinds of people.
Yeah, there's lots of difficult conversations that CMs or construction folks have to have on a regular, right?
Right. Well, specifically, we're talking about clients today.
Okay.
Because, it's funny, man. We build, so currently you and I are building, substantial, very high-end homes.
Sure.
Which is good. And, in my career, so I've built homes, I've done commercial work, and there's two different kinds of clients, right? So when you're building a house for somebody, the cliche, it's the biggest investment anybody's ever gonna make.
Oh my gosh.
And it is. Some of these
I've heard
houses
that
are.
so many times. Even when it's not a difficult conversation, it's something that is brought up because it is.
Yeah.
It is the most important investment they've ever made most of the time.
Right, so it really is, and it can be so nerve-wracking for a lot of these people,
Mhm.
because, there's 1,002 pieces that go into these houses, right? And if they don't have the experience, or if they have just a little bit of experience, they come in there and, you've got a construction manager and they're talking a million miles an hour about all these different things, and it can be very, very intimidating to a lot of people, and people are gonna react differently, right? I use the analogy of a used car salesman, because if you've ever gone and bought a used car and you got ripped off, it could be the same thing. Maybe you bought your first house and you kind of felt like you got ripped off. Now you're sitting in front of another home builder, and all you can think about is not getting ripped off.
Right.
And you're going to come out, you're going to be aggressive.
And you're going to be
trust
super
them.
like protective and defensive too.
Yeah, the whole time. And
Right.
that can be really tough. And what I see a lot of construction managers do is they'll say, excuse me, instead of trying to understand where the person is coming from, they just get defensive back. And, it just creates a really animosity between the two of them.
It's funny, I made a comment today. I was talking with one of the guys we work with, and I said, a lot of times these construction managers can be excuse machines. Like, why is this like this? Oh, well, that's because of this and that, and because of this and that. And you might not understand how it all works, but excuse. Like, they're naturally defensive about what they're doing for a living. Like, I was like that myself. Like, I feel like I have like 1,000 canned answers for certain questions.
Mhm.
And usually it's because you're trying to explain why something is either subpar or not what they expected.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
It's funny you say canned answers, because I know I have 1,000 canned answers. When I was walking houses and.
That's a Scotty T.
Oh yeah. But I used to. I would have like a rehearsed answer for all kinds of things. But when you think about it, if you've had to answer that question so many times that you have a canned answer for it, maybe when you're doing the pre-construction meeting, address it.
Yeah, don't
So
let
you
it
don't-
be a question.
Yeah, don't let it
That's
be a
an amazing
question.
concept.
Oh my
You
God.
are like some sort of a genius.
I should write that down, because that's really
You know where you could write it down? On a great website
Oh,
called
where would I-
Builder Tactics.
Oh my
So that
gosh.
you could review it back later.
That's a great idea. Well, actually, here's the thing. So I just threw a blog up there.
Did you?
Yeah. So I'll add it to the blog.
That's a good idea.
That's a great idea.
Mhm.
I should have put .com. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's home building, right? But then the flip side of that is commercial, because what I found when I was building apartments and things, I would have guys come in. So the way it would work, I build an apartment building, right? And you have the management company come in, and they're your client. They walk the apartments or whatever
Right.
they do their sign off and all that stuff. And usually it's a maintenance guy. And a lot of times they would come in, and some of them really just knew what they were looking at. Some of them not so much. So some superintendents not so much. So sometimes it becomes especially at first when you're getting to know that person, it becomes who knows more about how this building was built. And it can be super antagonistic. So I started, first time I walked out an apartment building, the guy came in and he started telling me, what's up. I got super offended, and I was basically like, you have to tell me what's up. I was like 24, 25, stupid.
God, I wish I was a 24-year-old Damien. Ugh,
So I'm like,
that guy was insufferable. I'll
oh
tell
my
you that.
God, he's such a jerk. So I'm, so I argued with him a lot, And it's an older guy, and it probably took 2 buildings before I realized, hey, this guy's not being a jerk, this guy's protecting, because he was like the warranty department for that apartment building, because he had to come in and do all the maintenance. So everything that he was concerned about had to do with the maintenance that he was gonna have to do later on down
That's
the road.
interesting.
And it didn't dawn on me, because I was too busy fighting.
Bitch.
I know, this son of a bitch, you're not gonna tell
He's
me
gonna
what's
have
up.
to take care of all this stuff when I'm gone. I don't understand why
Yeah.
he wants it to be right.
Just because it calls for 4 screws, there's only two in there, who cares? So it took me a while, once I understood where he was coming from, we had a great relationship. He'd come in and say, because I would anticipate, oh, he's gonna say, he wants this, and this done, I'm gonna do it before he gets there, he'd show up and he'd be like, you nailed it, see ya. But
Which is kind of the same way you deal with a inspector,
it's the same thing you do with
municipality. Yeah.
But, and that's the thing, so it's the same concept, so if you get to know an inspector, you know what they're looking for, they come in, you give it to them, they sign off, you're good to go. Same thing with the homeowner. If you take the time to get to know that homeowner, like at your pre-construction
True.
meeting, and you understand where they're coming from, your relationship with them is gonna be that much better. Dude, it kills me, because I talk to guys from time to time, and they'll be like, oh, this guy, this homeowner is super picky, they're super particular about blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, do you spend extra time on that?
Right.
No.
No. We give everybody else. We're fair.
Yeah, I'm like, if you know this is a trigger for them, why wouldn't you spend the extra time to make it not a trigger, so that when they come in, they're relaxed? Because it's just, once they get triggered by one thing, everything else is gonna be a disaster.
It's so true.
It's so true, dude, you've seen it 1,000 times, I've seen it 1,000
We
times.
actually just had a home that settled here this year, and you know, I was convinced that these folks were in it to like try and get something or something. I didn't know what the deal was. They were just mad about everything. And then it turned out what they were really concerned about with was they wanted and this might be really shocking, they wanted us to build them a really good home.
What?
I know, it's baffling. But
That is baffling.
literally like, and it turned out good, because we did. We doted on them a little bit, we gave them the concerns, they even said it, they wrote a letter, they even gave some pushback about things that weren't something that we were gonna do, and gave good reasons why we weren't gonna do it. And what you're asking for is not part of this contract. And so, I guess the moral of the story was like, when you're doing a really good job, you still have to kind of feel, I always say, every client, every person that you deal with in this biz is like different, and you have to figure out what are their things and try to cater to them. That's part of an experience. I mean, it's almost 2020. It's 2020 for me, but it's
What means 2020 for you?
well, fiscal year.
Oh, got it, okay.
My whole point is that you have to figure out what the hot buttons are to cater an experience for someone. Experience is all the rage now. It doesn't even matter about the final product, as long as you get there in a way that was like a fun ride. Like, it's not the amusement park you're going to, it's like how much fun you had on the way there or something. Is that right?
I totally stopped listening. It's like the third time I've done it. Dude, here's why. My kid is texting me, there's a tornado warning, he wants to go trick-or-treating.
Damien's all like, I don't give a shit, send them out there.
The kid
We
just
got
said,
too many kids as it is.
I just said you can't go trick-or-treating with a tornado warning. He just texted me and said, dude, it's not a big deal. What? Kid is crazy.
I love it.
Jesus. Anyway.
Tornado watch 686 remains in effect until 12 a.m.
Yeah, dude, they should
That's no
reschedule
joke.
trick-or-treating,
Yeah,
man.
they should reschedule
Dude,
Halloween.
my kid's in high school, what the hell's he going
You know-
trick-or-treating for? Why does he call me dude? You know what he is? He's a difficult person.
All right, let's talk about how we're gonna deal with it.
So get back to that, dude. There's all kinds of people, right? There's all kinds of different people. I wrote, there's people that are super entitled. There are people that are just plain mean and just jerks. There's people that are confused about different things. Greedy, unreliable, emotional, indecisive. And there's people that are just happy. That's my
Right.
favorite.
Yeah, I don't get to talk to them anymore.
I know. So, actually, I would say like 99% of our clients are just normal, happy people.
Regular folks that are excited to build a new home.
Here's one thing that I find out when I take the time. Usually, if I have a difficult client that I'm working with, I find that if I just stop talking and just listen and
Yeah.
just hear everything that they're saying, usually I find that they might be upset about something, but really there's a root to it. And if you just can take care of that smaller thing, the bigger item just goes away.
Right.
So, or I find if they're really pressing for some change or something that we just can't do, whether because of their permitting or expense or whatever. Maybe there's some smaller items that they also want.
Can you turn that up? You're good at this.
I try to set a timer. Just
What are you,
like,
like, is this like our 30th podcast?
I try
Are
to
we taking phone calls from our wives? I'm turning them down.
I tried to set a timer, and it didn't work. Not timer, like a stopwatch.
Has anybody ever heard anyone call me while we're recording? Like, nobody gives a shit about me. Call me. My wife's like, oh, he's not home yet? I didn't notice. Just kidding, man.
All right, because she's
She's totally. She's
yeah.
glued.
Her and Gina are sitting
She's
there
like,
listening.
when are you gonna put out a new one? I'm jonesing.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not happening.
I get that all the time.
Yeah, but I agree with what you were saying though, because look, there are lots of different approaches. I heard someone say that it's tough to set expectations these days, and this is totally Cahill, and she's not listening either, so I'm not.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Tough to set expectations in the world of Walmart and Amazon. These are companies where you can openly admit that you ordered it wrong,
Oh, I gotcha.
and they'll just give you your money back without question. And you say, yep, I ordered it wrong, picked the wrong one, sorry that you shipped it to me, send me my money. And they either say, sure, send it back, or they say, just keep it, we'll refund you. And it's like, it almost sets a precedent that it's not, that we can't, as builders, like you can't, we're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars in residential construction on someone's behalf. They give you a fraction of that as a down payment. And then you spend money on their behalf. If they decide that it's not what they want, that's really tough because you're expected to manage costs and timeline and expectations.
But dude, your settlement dates don't change.
Settlement dates don't change, and when you work for a big company, it's different too because you're promising the company what you're committing to.
Yeah.
And when that changes along the way, it's hard to explain all the circumstances, and sometimes those don't matter, and you have to sacrifice for it.
Yeah, man.
Well, and it's that creates some of those, those things that you say, frustration and emotional response. And
Well, I think you have to set that expectation up front because it's not like on Amazon where you're like, hey, I bought this book, I changed my mind, I want money back.
Yeah.
In construction, no matter what type it is, once you build something, all of a sudden you're like, no, I changed my mind.
Right.
Now you're deconstructing and then rebuilding. So it's not as easy as just, oh, you don't like the cabinet? Oh, okay. Well, I guess I'll rip the countertop off, throw it in the trash, and I'll pull all the appliances out, hope I don't damage them, and I'll replace your your cabinets. Wait 6, 8, 9, 10 weeks for the new cabinets to come in, I'll throw them in, then I'll re-template the granite or whatever, and I'll redo the countertops, then I'll reorder the appliances because I damaged them because I had them in the garage, and somebody stole one. It's a much, much bigger deal.
True, and you have a couple of opportunities to set those expectations as a CM. I always say if you meet them before the pre-construction meeting, that's a good time to say, hey, look, I'm your guy. I've done this for years. I've built tons of homes here. I have lots of happy customers. We've got great satisfaction ratings. I'm going to do what I can for you. I'll tell you like it is. If I can't do something or whatever, and you set those expectations and they gain a little bit of confidence in you, man, it goes a long way, man.
I watched the sales manager, and this is a while ago, and they told me this. They were like, hey, stop saying can't. And I was like, stop saying can't? And they're like, no, stop saying can't. What you need to say is I will not, and then explain why. And I was like, what do you mean? And they said, listen, when you say, nah, I can't do that, well, sure you can.
Show me the guy that can.
Yeah.
Right.
So he's like, but if you say I will not, or we will not, here's why.
Or we won't be able to.
With an explanation.
Right.
He's like, it's just a better way of doing it because then it's not just you personally can't do it.
Right.
It's the company will not do it, and here's your explanation
Right.
why. And I watched him do it a couple times, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, when you say it at first, it sounds a little harsh, but
It does sound harsh,
I get
right?
what you mean, though. It's
I
like,
thought the same thing. I was like, I'm not gonna say that.
It's not like I'm not going to do it because I don't like you.
Yeah.
It's because there are a bunch of circumstances that prevent me from.
Yeah, they're like, and I would watch him do it. He would say, no, we will not do that because A, B, and C. And the people would always go, oh.
Right.
And I'm sitting there like, that's it? Just, oh, okay, awesome.
Great.
So, okay, sweet. And the whole time I'm sitting there like dying in the corner, like, oh, I'll do something else. I'll do anything. So, you know, but it's just how you do it. And I think setting that expectation up front is super important. And here's the other thing. When there's a problem, so I know a ton of people that will be like, oh, lock the doors. There's a problem in the house. I don't want anybody to find out. And I'm like, no, dude, how about you just call the homeowner or call your client and say, hey, just as an FYI, we found whatever, we fixed it, just want to let you know, because what's worse, you lose credibility so quickly if that client shows up and then starts telling you problems,
right.
You look like you don't know what you're doing.
All right, here's a great example of a way that a homeowner loses. That is a great example of how a homeowner loses faith in what you're doing.
Quick.
And then you end up being captain defensive, right?
Yeah, man.
How many times have you heard, if I hadn't been in that house every day, then none of those things would have gotten done.
Mm-hmm.
And your CM is going, dude, they're there every day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even have a chance to fix stuff before they find it and write a letter, and it's so frustrating. Dude, that's on you. Set the expectation.
Yeah, dude.
Set the expectation. Look, even when they do, because they will, if you want to be part of the process, I always say it. You want to see the cake getting baked, you're going to see a few broken eggs along the way.
Amen.
It is really hard to put a home together by hand without having something go wrong. If you want to be part of it, that's fine. I want you to be part of it.
Yeah.
But you can't get frustrated with me. And if you do, I'm going to explain why. If there's a broken window, I'm not going to fix it right away. Because if I fix it, they're going to break it immediately the next day. It's happened before, and I thought, I'm never going to do that again. It's $300 where it should be $150.
Yeah.
And it's like, you have to set expectations, explain yourself, do a good job, get in there and find those things before them. Mm-hmm. If they write up that they noticed that the cabinet crown in the kitchen is separated at the corner, and you whip out your list and it says, fix cabinet crown in corner, there goes, oh, he's on it. Instead, everything I found, he'd already found. Now you have trust, and you don't have to backtrack and try and regain the whole time. And a lot of times, I feel like people are frustrated through the whole building process until the end. And then they see it done, and they're like, oh, hey, it only needs a couple of little touch-ups here.
Yeah.
This guy got it all done. But you should have seen, you're lucky that I was here.
You're welcome.
You're welcome, sir, for making your punch list. And it's like, look, that's a thing. Don't get me wrong, there's CMs out there that have, I've had people give me an item and I say, to be honest, I didn't see that yet. I was there yesterday, I'm going in this afternoon,
Yeah.
Sorry about that, no problem, I'll get back to you on it.
Dude, I always tell, when I would do pre-construction meetings, I would always ask the homeowners and my clients, I'd say, hey, where do you live?
Oh yeah,
And they tell me,
that's
and
one
I'd
of the
say,
key questions.
oh, you're close by? Listen, you come by here every day, you're gonna drive yourself crazy.
Yeah.
And I would describe a typical day on the job site. And I would see on the job site and be like, what are you doing? You love driving yourself crazy. What did I tell you was gonna happen? Oh, look, here it is, here's this, here's that. And they're like, and slowly they're like, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about.
Another thing that I think is important that you recognize is that homeowner is building one house.
Right.
And they have their own home blinders on, man. They are only seeing what's happening here. And it's like, you might have 30 contractors rolling every morning and 30 more coming in the afternoon, but they're feeling like 3 are going in their house, or 1.
Or
maybe nobody.
Yeah.
Or maybe they show up at 4 and they're like, there wasn't even anything happening today. You could have been making progress. Why is it taking so long? And you're like, dude, there was 3 people here before 10 a.m. gone, done with their day's work. And it's like, you can only schedule so much each day. The subcontractors or trade partners, you gotta make sure that you understand what they're capable of. And sometimes like there are contractors that have to come out to your job and work on 4 houses that day, otherwise they can't make money.
Right.
Because they're coming from a long way away, or they have a small amount of work with a small amount of profit. And it's like, nobody's going to understand that but you. And if you stay out ahead of it and you explain yourself and you set the stage when you do that I feel like the pre-construction meeting is really the best place.
Dude, it's so important. It's so important.
Right?
Yeah, because that's when you set expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, dude, you got to reinforce it through the entire build.
Right.
And that's one thing. I would come up with like a theme for these homeowners. I'd say, here it is at the pre-construction meeting. Here it is at the pre-drywall meeting.
Right.
Here it is at the PSO. Here it is, at settlement. just because you have to constantly reinforce, because, that could be depending on what kind of house you're building, it could be anywhere from 3 months to a year or longer to build that project, whatever
Right.
it is. And that's a lot of time to spend with somebody.
Sure.
So, especially if they're coming out every day.
And the truth is, like, we say, like, oh, this is tough. These buyers are really tough. No, they just are going to live there. You know what's one of the lines I always say when I was doing pre-construction meetings as a CM? I'd say, look, this isn't a pair of shoes. This isn't a car that you're buying that you're going to drive for 100,000 miles and trade it in.
Yeah.
This is a home you're going to bring your family to, and you're going to take pride in. You're going to move. You're going to raise your kids here, and we recognize that. And it's not always going to seem like that because we're building a whole bunch at the same time. But we recognize that it's important, and I want you to know that. And dude, that takes the gloves down, man.
Good.
It's like,
That's awesome.
just one of the things I've said. And, because I'm going to do the same job. I'm going to build houses the same way.
Right.
I might key in on your couple of key things that you want. If you're the guy who's like, it's so dusty in here, I'll probably sweep it a couple extra times. If you're like, the guy who's used to do roofing, I'm probably going to give that a little bit of scrutiny.
Yeah.
You got to love, here, let's joke a little bit about the homeowners. You got to love when a guy had like a weekend job in
Oh,
college.
dude, I love it. I love it when they're like, oh, hey,
Sir, this is not a good carpet seam.
Yeah.
These doorways should have been done differently. You're like, oh my god, like you worked with your uncle one
really
summer.
did, really. You renovated a doghouse once. Sorry.
Yeah, I know, but that's the way I am. You should have heard me on the phone with the mechanic.
Oh, well, dude, you're a
Oh
mechanic.
my god. I might have said some really harsh stuff when I was trying to be charged like extra money for things, and I'm like, don't you tell me that, you crooked bastard. I don't know what you're up to.
Dude, Gina was cleaning out one of our like junk drawers or whatever. She found this piece of paper that had like 17, 18 years ago we bought a house. And the CM's, the construction manager's name was on this piece of paper for whatever reason. She's like, hey, you remember this guy? And I was like, oh yeah. She goes, oh, you were such a jerk to him. And I was like, Gina, I was not a jerk to him.
Yeah, I would be willing to bet.
That was like, first of all, at the time when we bought the house, I had like a superficial knowledge of how to build houses. I was only in construction for like 2-3 years
Yeah, that's
at
what
the time.
Same thing.
And I was like,
And I was like, I know everything.
right. I was like, I knew the difference between a brick and a 2x4. But I was like, Gina, now, oh, I drive him crazy. I said, but back then, I didn't know enough to drive him crazy. You know what I mean? And the dude built us a great house. We lived in it for like 16 years, never had any problems.
I remember wanting to be like the coolest homeowner on the block when
Yeah.
I was building my house. And I was young, and I'd only been in the business for like 2 years, and the house was way too expensive, and I've been working a man off my whole life. But I remember being like, I don't want to be that guy. And I would go there every week.
Yeah.
I would drive out there every week, and at about pre-drywall time, I was like, I'm driving myself crazy.
Sure, dude.
I can't look at this stuff anymore. Just do it and get it done, and I'll come in at the different phases that you want me to and look at it.
Yeah, I'll be a customer.
There's a couple of key points I wanted to see before
Well,
we
dude,
finish stuff.
Jake told you that story where so when they built my house, they put the footer in, and the keyway joint was almost non-existent. And I knew, like I said, at the time I had like a superficial understanding of construction, no depth to my knowledge, but Jake did. So I was like, hey, meet with the builder, you can come out with me. And we go out there, and we got like the superintendent, his boss's boss, the concrete contractor,
Right.
and Jake just starts ripping him, and he says to him, he goes, well, they're like, so what's the issue? And he goes, well, the first issue, I guess I'm gonna say, is the quality of the workmanship out here. And starts insulting the concrete guy.
Yeah.
He's ripping the work apart. He's like, this keyway joint's no good, and this is no good, and this is no good, there's no rebar over here. And then his phone rings, and he's like, hold on, hey, you gotta take this, and walks away. And everybody turns and looks at me, and I'm like, hey guys.
We're contrary to popular belief, we're not actually the same.
Oh
person.
my god. I was like, and the guy goes, how about I just dabble in some rebar? And we good? And I was like, that sounds good.
Not gonna find out, right? All right, check.
I was like, but I want to see it. And they're like, be here tomorrow.
Okay.
I was like,
We'll be down away.
okay, I can't be here tomorrow. I'll just take your word for it.
Just send me a picture.
House never fell down, so, but,
Leak like a sieve, but
I mean, whatever. So we kind of digressed a little bit there. I don't know.
We're both homeowners, so we can relate.
Yeah. Yeah, oh, that's right, that's what we're talking about. So anyway, so I just think the moral of the story
Wait,
is.
hold on, did you just forget what you were talking about that for a
I
second?
did, man, I'm so busy. I'm like literally ready to lay down in traffic and just like cars
Don't
ended
do
for me.
it. Don't do it. There's a tornado coming.
Oh, there's a tornado coming. Perfect, I'll just stand out there with my arms out. Anyway, the moral of the story is you know, there are difficult people out there. We're gonna run into difficult people no matter what we're doing,
Sure.
where we are. But honestly, if we sit to understand kind of where they're coming from,
True.
I think we'll find that we can turn those difficult homeowners into positive experiences for them, for us, because the bottom line is people are not bad people. You know, people behave differently in different situations, and buying a home or working in construction as a builder's rep or something along those lines, it can be very stressful.
Sure.
And very intimidating, because especially, you know, a lot of people have an impression of the construction industry as like a bunch of thugs. Not thugs, but it's a rougher
Yeah, I know.
trade, if
Because
you will.
it's something that people do with their hands, and blue collar workers go out there and do it, and where are they coming from, and all these things are concerns to the buyer. Because, of course, I mean, why wouldn't it be?
A lot of times they're filthy, covered with mud.
Right. Well, they're coming up, you know, and that's easy to say because that's really true. I
It
mean,
is,
they're-
right.
You should say it's pouring rain today. It's not like their work stopped.
Yeah, dude, I
There's
was
a
out
couple
in
of things that we weren't doing today, but I mean, for the most part, we were framing, we were grading, we were digging, we
Yeah.
were backfilling, you know, in between squalls. I mean, that's the way it works.
It really is. So anyway, so if we set good, clear expectations and we listen to our clients, I think we definitely turn a negative situation into a positive.
Sure.
Or just keep it positive from the get-go and not have to,
Right.
but it's when we stop listening and get super defensive that's when things usually go sideways for
You
us.
can't do that. You gotta have an open mind.
Yeah. All right, so let's wrap it up. So, you know, again, we've gotten, I don't know if you checked our reviews on iTunes. There's a ton more. It's like
Really?
78 reviews or something. Yeah, it's a lot.
What?
And one guy asked a question. He said, "Hey, can you get back to me about this?" I don't know. Is there a way to do that? I have no idea. I'd have to.
I mean, we could talk about it.
Oh, I should have. We'll bring it up next time.
Yeah, we'll bring it up
next
talk
time.
it next podcast.
But I saw it and I was like, "Oh, I'd love to."
How do I get a hold of you?
How do I do that? Cyber
Handlebar Harry 92.
Anyway, but so I'll definitely be more diligent about reading the reviews, because there's a ton more, and sometimes people ask questions. I want to make sure we answer those questions if we can. Excuse me.
Yeah, we've been super busy, so I haven't even really been paying attention. But I know that.
I have, because I don't sleep. But so there's a new blog on buildertactics.com.
Cool.
Right now there's a blog on there's an entry on time management. I'm going to try and add to it like once a week, once every 2 weeks.
Sure.
Probably every time we release a podcast, I'll put something in there.
Mhm.
We're also going to go back and transcribe the podcasts that we've got, because I was told, I don't know if this is true, that deaf people like to read podcasts.
I would assume they like to read. I'm not sure if
I don't know
I
how
like
many.
to read podcasts. I mean,
That's what I was told. I don't know.
I'm thrilled that people are listening to us, but I'd be surprised if somebody wanted to read us.
I would too. But I had somebody say, "Hey, you know, it'd be great, man, if I could read this podcast." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh,
Okay. Cool.
all right."
Yeah. Word.
It's a lot of goddamn work. Anyway, so that's coming. I don't know when, but that's coming. But
Sweet.
so the blog's new. Again, please jump on buildtactics.com, download the manual. If you want to send us your resume, we'll review it and send it back to you. I've actually done 2 mock interviews now with people that have turned in their resumes. And you know, they said they got a lot out of it, so
Cool.
that's cool.
Very good.
Anyway, keep supporting us, keep listening to us, keep watching us on YouTube.